Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we are speaking with Tara Jefferies. Wow, I was having trouble getting that out. Sorry about that. Tara is behind the art of selling with Hart and exploring the conscious sales movement. I love that, and I can so relate to the idea that sales is changing, and it's about darn time in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the podcast, Tara.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks.
So what's your experience with sales and what are your thoughts on this? And I'm so excited to explore all these channels.
Cool. Okay. Well, like I said, thank you for having me here. And being open to the conversation, because you're right. Sales has to change. Like it's a requirement. And I love that, before I kind of get into that, I love the similarities between your origin story and mine, because it's a similar way of thinking where, I have this area of specialized knowledge, and I really wanted to serve purpose-driven entrepreneurs who could leverage my specialized knowledge to help get their purpose-driven messages out into the world and to serve and be, a light in the world. We have a lot of the opposite of that out there, and right now we're seeing this emergence of really well-meaning, well-intended, purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are coming up. And I was doing something else almost 2 years ago, and I was interviewing for a client that needed someone to facilitate their program. So I happened to find myself in a situation where I was just interviewing a lot of people, and a lot of them were coaches. And so I had like 50 conversations with these coaches for this particular thing that I was working on. And every single person, and not coaches, facilitators, thought leaders, like authors, they all kind of fell into this realm. And the one thing that was challenging them and that was really holding them back was that they hated sales. Like hate, not just a little bit of dislike, but like hate. And they didn't, so they kind of were coming at it from that mindset. And so I didn't really do anything with that information at the time, but then later on, as I was putting together my program, Conscious Sales Mastery, I went back and I reached out to that chunk of, people that I had been interacting with before. And that half of them, within a year, half of them were out of business. And that maybe isn't surprising to you, but it blew my mind, not in a good way. It was really, it was deflating and sad. And, it's kind of devastating, because these were all people that, I'd connected with, and they were doing really great work in the world and being a light in the world. Like, we need these lights so deeply. It's so needed. And we're watching these people step away from doing work that they really love, that they're really passionate about. And it's because of this connection to an idea of what sales is. And that was something that I really wanted to be a part of changing. So that was kind of where it started. And so like I said, when I was listening to your origin story and how you started in your business, it just it resonated really deeply with me. And I was just really excited to be here and talking to you, because I think that as much as we need these light workers, as much as we need these entrepreneurs who are out here making a difference, and helping and supporting and guiding and teaching, we also need those of us who can, use our specialized knowledge and our unique ability to help lift and uplift them, and to ensure that we have more of these people in the world doing the great work that they're doing.
I could not agree with you more. And it's really the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because so many of them don't understand that, well, they didn't start out to be entrepreneurs for the most part.
Right.
And they don't understand that everybody sells something all the time. I mean, that's just like sales is just the process of helping people. We call it sales, and there for the longest time has been this old school, very male dominated
Yes.
idea around sales, where you're manipulating people into making a decision that's not necessarily in their best interest, but it's in the salesperson's best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And that could not be further from the truth for the coaches that I talk to. And really, most people out there are not just in it to make a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get beyond the I need money
Right.
paradigm, which is, everybody
Which
needs
is
money.
legit. It's legit.
It is a legitimate feeling to have, but there's a difference between needing to have money at the expense of other people's benefit or happiness or whatever the solution is that you're trying to provide, and genuinely trying to help people. And if what you have to offer can help them, being compensated for that. And I'm not totally sure, but I suspect that your idea of the conscious sales movement is more in line with that. The helping people to come to a conclusion, to take action that's in their best interest, because you have a system that's going to help them get the result that they're after. Is that right? Or is it
accurate.
Are you doing something so totally different that I haven't even caught on to yet?
No, not at all. And the reframe for me that I like to use around sales is value creation. Right? That's what is the value you're creating in your market? Because that's what sales is. That's literally all it is. And the first pillar of conscious sales mastery is sales psychology. So it's like the first area that we want to dive into, because everyone has this stereotypical salesperson in their mind, right? If I were to ask you, when you think of salesperson, what comes to mind? What's the first image that pops into your head?
It's the used car salesman.
It's the used car salesman. It's a man. It's a cliche. It's a man in a plaid suit, over the top, just saying whatever they need to say in order to get you to do what they want you to do, which is to buy something, which is to put money in their pocket. So we have these stereotypes, and and it's very these stereotypes are very much the feeling around it is the noise, a salesperson is talking at you. There's this noise. I'm just going to repeat that. There's this noise around what a salesperson is. And the truth of the matter is that, like, that's the old way of doing things. The snake oil salesman, the used car salesman, like all of these images that automatically come to mind. Like, no wonder people are like, no, like I'm trying to bring something of true value out into the world. I don't want to identify with that. That's not on brand for me. I don't want to have to be that. And people feel like that's who they need to become in order to be successful in sales in their business. And that could not be farther from the truth. And I think that people, like, I don't think a lot of people are resonating with that old style. And I know absolutely younger generations. So like the Gen Zs, they see that coming from a mile away and they want nothing to do with it. So in the world that we find ourselves now, with this new wave of helpers, of teachers, of healers, of entrepreneurs who are creating something and putting it out into the world for the betterment of others, there is a different way of approaching it. And the first step in that is identifying that we have a limiting belief around what that looks like and to detach from it. And the second stage of that is, well, if I'm not that, then who am I then? Like, how do I do this? How do I get what I'm doing out into the world? And the question is always like answered with really discovering, what your unique strengths are, right? The things that you are naturally really great at doing are the things that you're going to lean into to be really effective in sales. So that's just my sort of long-winded response to your question. But this is the psychology piece that we really need to educate everyone on, because we get to create the new, we get to create the new character. You get to create who you are in the world and how you bring your product or service to life. So that's the first thing that we work on in conscious sales and conscious selling, removing that and identifying and stepping into the creation of who you are when you bring yourself into the world.
Yeah, and let's talk about that next step, because to me, it's about the introduction of your offer is really just an extension of the conversation that you have with clients. And there's a give and a take to it, and there's lots of questions around it. And I had a sales coach at one point, and he said that you should always be in the process of disqualifying people from whatever it is that you're offering. And so it's not really, if you approach it in a matter of, I want to help you, maybe, are you my right kind of people, for one thing? Am I going to actually be able to get you the results that you're looking for? And if you're not that kind of person, if you're not really ready to take the next step, then I shouldn't be making you any offers, because I'm not doing you any favors, and I'm not doing myself any favors, because you're not going to get the results. So you're going to be upset with me.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of a key piece for coaches out there that are trying to find clients. And, not everybody is your ideal client, and you have a right to be picky about it. And the people that come to you you can really solve their problem and you overcome their fear and objections, because what you're offering, and they can see the value that you can provide, and it resonates with them, those people are going to take what you give them and run with it. And they're going to get great results, and they're going to tell others about you. And those are the people you want. So those discovery calls or sales conversations, or whatever you want to call them, they're conversations that should be conversations, not sales calls, because it's not about selling people. It's about seeing what they're struggling with and whether you can fix that problem, and if you want to fix that problem. It
Well, that's a
empowers them.
that's a key piece right there too, is like, if you want to be helping them, right? Like, we have, as an entrepreneur, you have the opportunity to kind of create your reality, right?
Mhm.
And that's a big part of it. And I think early on, that's an early lesson that entrepreneurs need to learn, because you can spend an awful lot of time working with people that are not your ideal client. You end up frustrated and banging your head against the wall, and you're not gaining the reputation and increasing sales. Like, that's another way, of course, of increasing sales, right? Is through your reputation and referrals and renewals. So that's a really important piece. And it sounds like what you're talking about too is like really understanding your niche and like niching down. And
Understanding your offer.
Yeah.
What it is that you offer someone, because a lot of times you run into coaches that they can help people with so many different things, but they don't know what their offer is, what problem they're solving, and what result they're delivering. It's the result you're delivering that is the offer. It's all the rest of it is the stuff you do. It's the container, but ultimately it's how you present what it is you do in a way that makes that other person look at it and say, oh yeah, that can totally help me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the offer is a really important part. One of the things that I like to work with people on before the offer piece is just really understanding their unique value proposition, or another way of saying it is a transformation statement. So like taking people through that process, it sounds like a simple thing to do, but it does take quite a bit of conscious deliberation and collaboration to kind of figure that out. But once you understand the transformation that you're making for your clients, the offer is a little bit easier to handle, right?
That's absolutely the starting point.
Yeah.
It's the promise, the price.
Yeah.
And the price is second. You get to pick whatever price you want, 10x it. And that's the value that you need to bring to whatever it is that you're doing. And then the price, the promise, the pack, the process, that's, how you get them from A to B. It's the airplane. You're not going to describe the airplane to your travel client. You're going to talk about the destination.
Right. Yeah. The how is a little less important, right? We can get into that later on in the sales conversations, right? That's part of, later on in the discovery process. The how is, those are like buying questions. Like when someone wants to know the specifics of how you do it, like those are buying questions. That's when, just to get technical.
Which airline are you going to take?
Like that's when you're in the stage of closing. That's like, you're at the end. Those are really good conversations to be having. And that kind of happens closer to the end. At the beginning of the process, though, the way that I like to take people through this is, we talked about sales psychology and really kind of understanding yourself, understanding your clients, understanding the transformation that you make for people and being able to articulate that. Like that's sort of the upfront, the beginning stages of that. The next piece that I work with people on is the path to productivity. And this may seem counterintuitive when we're talking about sales, but as an entrepreneur who is now wearing all of the hats, doing all of the things, and going from, okay, I have a good understanding of who I am in all of this, and I'm starting to book discovery calls. Discovery calls are like the last of my 3 pillars in conscious sales mastery. Before we get there, though, there's another really important thing. This is very particular to the entrepreneur, and that is the effort that we're putting into our day-to-day, and understanding where we're putting our energy in relation to the beginning of the sales funnel, and when we're prospecting, the middle of the sales funnel, and then the closing, the closing activities of the sales funnel. And one of the things that I've sort of come to appreciate is that entrepreneurs, not even new entrepreneurs, this can even relate to like people who have been doing this for a number of years, often fall into this trap as well, is spending a little bit too much time on the activities that aren't really generating the ROI in your business. So, you know, like I said, we've done the upfront work. We've got a good understanding, what a solid understanding of who we are in this whole, you know, side of the business and the transformation that we bring. But where are you spending your energy, and how are you bringing people through that, you know, first, you know, discovery of you, whether it be on a social media post or, you know, through your newsletter, whatever, through a referral. And how are you bringing them and walking them through all the way to the end where we can be having those how-to conversations, right? Because a lot has to happen before we're having those, you know, like, how do we do it conversations. And this is also the part where this particular pillar of productivity, this is where people tend to burn out. This is where people will burn out before they ever have the opportunity to get good at discovery calls. So discovery calls are the third pillar in my program. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, how do I have a great discovery call? Just tell me, give me the script. And it's like, okay, I have a script for you, but like, let's make sure that you are operating in your business in a really effective way where you're maximizing your time, like your resources, your time resources, your energy resources. And your financial resources too. If I'm getting a little bit excited and talking fast, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm trying not to interrupt you.
Okay, good. Okay, so you know, there is an investment in lead generation that happens. So there's an investment, a financial investment, a time investment, an energy investment, like a creativity investment, you know, that goes into lead generation. And sometimes I find that entrepreneurs get really stuck in in this section, right? They get really stuck in here, and they spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of attention and all of their creative resources and everything that kind of happens in here. And there's a lot that kind of has to go on. There's steps that have to happen after that in order to maximize those initial investments of time, energy, and creativity and finances. And what a lot of people end up doing is because they don't quite understand how to fulfill all the rest of, you know, we'll call it the sales funnel, really understanding how to bring people through that properly, they just kind of go right back to the beginning and start investing their money in ads again, and you know creative campaigns, and like doing all this kind of stuff again and again and again and again and again without quite understanding all of the rest of the steps and how to bring each one of those resources or assets, I should say, to fruition, right? That's where, you know, the productivity piece can really add to your ROI, and actually a number of people can make really great gains and make a return on their investment right away just by kind of focusing on this piece. So by understanding that how they're spending their time in their business and what their specific activities are at the beginning, the middle, and the closing stages of that funnel, so you know where to allocate your time and your energy in a really effective way. And then once we kind of have that down, then we can get into how to have a really extraordinary discovery call. And the discovery call, and I'll pause here just because you might want to jump in. I'll pause here before we get into the discovery call piece, because that's really a really fun and interesting place to be as well. But so that's sort of the productivity, is really understanding where your energy and your resources are, and how your day-to-day activities are impacting your 90-day goals and your 12-month goals and your 3-year goals, right? So
it helps if you are keeping track of your stats, so that you know where you need to make adjustments. Like, you measure your data, which is often kind of boring, but it's really kind of important. because you don't know where you need to tweak the process, and you need to have a process
Yeah.
to go from awareness to the discovery call. And in that process, it needs to be a process of connection, because people buy from people they feel connected to,
Right.
rather than just like some stranger out there. There's lots of people offering the same thing that anybody offers.
Mhm.
With lots of choices, but it's that connection piece, I think, that makes the difference. And your
Yeah. Yeah.
process, or your system, from awareness to the discovery call,
Mhm.
needs to be a process where they're getting to know you better. It's the
Mhm.
dating process, really.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah.
And that leads us to the discovery call, which is kind of like the proposal.
It is. And, you know, this is where like really deep relationships are formed through the discovery process. And this is my favorite. Like, I love the discovery call process. And, you know, sometimes you're not going to make the sale, but if you really nail the discovery call process, I bet you'll get a referral out of it, even if you don't make the sale. Like, this is a beautiful, fertile ground where you can plant many seeds for your future in so many different ways. And I think, you know, people kind of people mess this up. And in particular, I've noticed with the more purpose-driven entrepreneur, because we are so wired to serve, oftentimes a discovery call ends up being a coaching call. Right? And people end up giving away so much of their free time and service and energy. And you have to be careful with this, because you kind of end up I'm sorry.
I said, I'm sorry, my dog just barked. I have
Oh,
this
it's okay.
puppy.
I didn't even hear it. That's
Oh,
fine.
great.
So anyways, long story short, with the discovery call process, this is where you can make magic happen in a number of different ways without having to like give away your services for free. It's really knowing what questions to ask and how to lead someone through in a really compassionate way. And this is very, it's ethical, it's compassionate, and you're leading people. The way that I like to think about the discovery call process is you're walking someone over the finish line. You're discovering what motivates people at like the deepest level that they are able to tap into, at least at the level of, you know, knowing you that the two of you are at. And it's a warm and loving guidance towards what it is they've come to you for, and what it is that they are that transformation that they're trying to achieve and that they're trying to get to. And like I said, I find a lot of people just sort of give away their time for free. They give away their service for free as the method of doing that, and then wonder why they're following up and following up and following up and not hearing back, and then hopping on another call and then giving another free service away. Like it results in this really tumultuous cycle that isn't necessary if you understand sort of the construct of a discovery call and really understanding the questions that can ask. And one thing I will tell you, like, this is by far the most important thing. Like, all of the parts of a discovery call, I think, are the most important thing. But like I always kind of say that, like, that's the most important thing. They're all important. But when you do have somebody on a discovery call and you're asking about what it is they want for their future, the main tip or thing that I want people to take away from any conversation with me, anytime we're having a conversation or anyone is listening to me talk about this piece of the sales process, is asking the most important question, and that is why. Understanding the why behind somebody's desires, and not the first why. It's not the second why. It's like the third or the fourth why behind someone's desire, that you really get to know the importance. because and even through the process of asking someone why several times, you may actually discover a whole other goal that they're trying to achieve, a whole other transformation, or at the very least, the core of why it's important to them. And this is not a manipulation tactic by any means. And that's why there's a lot of ethical compassion that is included in this. Oh my God, I just saw your dog and I'm so excited that they're here.
It's a puppy, and I forgot to move him out of the room. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I love it so much. He's welcome.
Okay.
This is the key, though, to the deeper relationship. It helps you with your first, from a purely logistical business perspective. It helps you with your onboarding. It helps you develop a plan as to how you're going to work with them to really break through and achieve the transformation that they're looking for. When you understand the deeper why behind their goals up front, and this is a missing piece that I find for a lot of people. Is getting to the heart of why someone desires the thing that they want. We have, we all wear masks. We all have our go-to standard response for things. But if you can dial into why something is important to someone, that's where you can create real magic for someone. And so that's sort of if you take anything away from this conversation with me, it's include that in your discovery call. When you ask someone, I'm assuming that anyone you're listening to this, when they're having a discovery call, are starting off that conversation by asking what the future vision is for that prospective client.
Where are you now? And where do you want to go?
And where do you want to go, right? What has to happen over the next 3
and
years
then,
in order for you to feel good about your progress, right? We want to bring that out. But why? Why is that important to you? And when they answer,
will allow you to do. And you can ask why in a variety of ways.
Exactly.
So you're not just repeating why.
And I was just about to say that. That's exactly you don't want to sound like a toddler. Right? Why, mommy? Why, mommy? Why? So I know I can see how someone can take that out of context and use it in the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But the idea behind it is to understand the why behind the desire. It's not to ask why like a toddler, because that would just be annoying, and you're going to kill the conversation, and you're going to limit your ability to connect with them.
And really pulling out pieces that they're telling you already to kind of, it expresses that A, you're listening, and B, can you go into that a little deeper? This aspect of what you said, can you share a little bit more around that? And, what would it allow you to do? And get them to really paint that picture for themselves. This whole conversation is really for that other person that's involved with you. Yeah. And it helps them come to the conclusion on their own that they do need you when you make that offer. If you can pull out all of the bits and pieces that they could potentially be objecting to, you should already know what those are going into the call. And you should be able to have them, through the conversation, arrange it in their own mind or overcome the objections, as they used to say, in their own mind before you even get to the offer part. That shouldn't be an objection. Mm-hmm. The only objections that you really need to worry about are the money piece. And the money piece is not an objection. It's just a logistics problem. How can you make this so that they can feel comfortable buying it from you? Mm-hmm. They send you to the finance office in a car dealership. Right. Because they're going to work out how they're going to get that monthly payment to where you can afford to make it, where you feel comfortable enough that you're going to walk off the lot with the car. Mm-hmm. And people get all worried about the money part. It's when somebody says to me, I can't afford it, it's, well, putting the money aside, is that something that you want? You got to establish that first.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, my opinion of this, or my experience of this, is it's never about the money.
It's never about the money. It's that you
It is
haven't.
never about the money. There's something else going on that you haven't extracted from the conversation. There's some underlying fear. There's some underlying there's questions that haven't been answered. Right. And that's your job, right? And that's the next stage of discovery, is really understanding. It's like you said, you should already know what your objections are going to be. There's like 7 common objections. Like there's the most common ones that we can kind of rely on. And I have a whole workbook around the 7 most common objections. And, once you kind of understand what those are, and once you see them sort of in black and white and see all the different ways that, like, it's really easy to address them, it takes the resistance and the fear out of the person trying to, lead the conversation, I think, because it's the uncertainty and the insecurity that people feel around not really knowing and understanding it. So yeah, number 1 is it's never about the money. So just as long as you understand that when it comes at you, then you know that, what, there's questions that have been left unanswered, and it's my role now in this process and helping to create that transformation to somebody to walk them further down the line and ask them these next questions. So I think that's really important, and it really kind of takes the anxiety. I was going to say fear, but like the anxiety out of it. Money is such a, money's still kind of a taboo thing for people. It's a taboo conversation, and even going back to the original piece of this when we were talking about sales psychology, a lot of that is also linked to money. Sometimes our fears around sales and selling are intertwined with our feeling about money and value. So it's, that comes all the way through in our understanding of our own personal resistance and our own limiting and self-limiting beliefs around money and our ability to create value. Have to be addressed before we start talking about objection handling, because it's our own crap. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast or not. It's our own crap that gets in the way of addressing some of those objections later on.
Yeah, that's like 90% of it.
Right.
People get on a call with you because they want information from you. And, they're not new. They know why they're on the call with you. They know that you're going to make them an offer. It's really
right. Yeah. Like we're all adults here.
It's not a mystery here. And you don't want to like surprise them with the idea that you're going to be making them an offer, because, that's, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, so you shouldn't be afraid to make the offer. And if you have a process, if you go through the process a number of times, and it's like the more times you go through it, the more comfortable you become, and you can kind of predict, early on how the conversation is going to go. And there's things you can ask beforehand, depending on what it is that you're trying to, how your offer is, whether you're likely to have I have to talk to my partner.
That's exactly right. And asking that question up front is really helpful.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else involved in making this decision? Is a great thing to know moving forward, because you can restructure how you're going to move forward, right? You can invite the other person into these conversations.
Right. It's not like you're trying to talk somebody into something that's not in their best interest. And if you have both parts of the decision-making party there, it makes it so much easier to address everybody's issues. And I used to sell a weight loss program for a while. And it wasn't mine. I was a closer for another company. And, if you've got your spouse sitting there listening to all of these answers that you're giving to the questions, they're not as likely to say no as they are if you're like, well, I'm just going to go talk to him and tell him about it afterwards.
Because
You'll
now
never hear from that person
you're
again.
relying on that person to be a salesperson now,
Yeah.
right? So that's tricky, and that's tricky. So you want to eliminate that as quickly as possible from the get-go.
Mhm.
And the other thing, just as if I could just add this in as a bit of a differentiator, I like to set up a couple of things. One of the things that you mentioned is, the more often you do it, you can come to expect what objections are going to come up and things like that. And the thing that we all probably can agree on, like we all hate doing this, but it's really, really important to do, and that in my program is like a safe space to do, is role playing.
Yeah.
So like, yes, I know, ooh, yuck, role playing. But and to be honest with you, I don't like role playing either. I don't like it. It's not my first choice of things that I want to do in any given day, but it's so effective in working out the kinks. You get the opportunity to kind of stumble over your words a little bit and ask questions and like figure some things out. And when you do it with someone who, has been, doing this for a really long time and can throw some new objections at you, it's really effective in building your confidence. Like that's the point of doing the role play. It's to build your confidence so that, when you do have a discovery call with someone, like you've got this, you've done this like 20 times in the last 2 weeks because you've been paired up with someone and you've been going through this role play, and you've got this. It's comfortable. You know what to expect. There's, it's a really, it's a much disliked but really key piece that can make a huge difference. And the other thing I wanted to add in is, because we're talking about discovery calls, but we're talking about it in the sort of in the context of conscious selling, and that is your pre-call rituals, as I call them rituals. Not everybody will resonate with that word, but part of your routines, we'll say. And part of your pre-call routines, I think, are really important here. This is where you sort of have the opportunity to clear yourself from any distractions and earlier on in the day. You create a space for yourself. Maybe you light a candle, burn some sage, like what a sage do, like whatever it is that you connect with here. But you take pen to paper and really think through, like, what are my intentions with this discovery call? Like write the person's name down. What is the best possible outcome from this discovery call? And just write it through. What has to happen over the next hour through this discovery call in order for me to consider this a success? And you list those things out. And here's a really powerful question to ask yourself before you have a discovery call. And that is, why is my service the most amazing service for, the person's name? Why is what I do so transformational for my clients? And put yourself into the energy of the transformation you create for people, so that when you step into that discovery call, it's not like it's an explorative time. Like you're going to learn things that you didn't know before, but you can step into it with the energy of confidence and really understanding, like rooted in your purpose and why you're there. And that is a small thing that makes a world of difference in the outcome that you can expect by the end of the call.
It's funny that you say that, because I do have routines, and I was just looking at I have a heart-shaped rock that I like to rub, and I do that, and then I have it's kind of like a prayer that I say before.
Yeah.
And my intention is always that the highest and best for everyone involved in the conversation is achieved through the conversation. And it really does change the way that you approach the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes all of the stressful, I've got to make this sale thing out of it. And people can feel that when you're talking to them, and it's kind of an icky feeling.
It is.
How do people get in touch with you, Tara, to work with you? And
well, you can go to my website. Joydoespay.com is the name of my company. And I mean, you can catch me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn more than anywhere else. So anyone can connect with me through LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. And we'll make sure we put those in the show notes.
Thank you.
And is there one thing you would like to leave the audience with today?
Yeah. I think in terms of entrepreneurship and creating a business that is sustainable and lives on beyond you, one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves is, and this isn't even in my program. I kind of did this on the side for a lot of my clients and anyone else who's interested. But one of the most important things is to know what it is that we're creating in meticulous detail. Because when you know what it is that you are creating, it's amazing. It's like having the wind at your back. Once you have articulated all of the components it is to what you want, and you put that into the world, and you commit yourself to doing that, the things that you need are inevitably going to show up and push you in the direction of what it is that you're creating. And I think that having a clear, inspiring, crystallized 3-year vision, I'm not talking a 25-year vision, 3-year vision for your business and your life is one of the most powerful things that you can have before you start worrying about how am I going to have this discovery call, and it's one of the best things that you can have in place for yourself. And I think if I was to leave people with one thing, it would be to create that. And if anyone is interested, it's free. I have a workbook that people can follow along with. This doesn't have anything to do with my program other than it's really helpful to have this in order to get great results through any sales program, whichever direction you try to go. Having this is important. So that's what I'd like to leave people with, is have a really clear, concise, meticulously detailed 3-year inspiring vision that you can't wait to get out of bed and create every day.
Because you can just feel it.
The energy of it. Oh. And the energy of it is also the energy that will pull you out of the more stressful times, that will pull you out of the downs of the entrepreneurial journey. When you have that to go back on and reconnect with, it's a very powerful tool. And so that's what I would leave people with, is to make sure that you have something that you're connected to, that is powerful, and that you can articulate very, very clearly.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me, Tara. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been wonderful speaking with you, Jill. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the U World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.